Hello students, welcome back to our channel. In the previous lecture we were discussing the physical approach of weed control. So far we have covered several lectures of weed management. You can go and watch them. And today we are going to cover the cultural or ecological approach of weed control. Okay, we are going to cover today the cultural and ecological approach of weed control. So this is basically the principle of a good crop is the best weed killer. So in crop weed ecosystem, suppose we are having a farm and we are trying to control the weeds there. Weeds are what? Weeds are basically the unwanted plant, and crop is our desired plant. Yes or no? So when our desired plant, we are providing enough resources, we are managing the resource better in an optimized way for our crop plant, and our crop plant is getting optimum resource. Okay, then it will grow vigorously, and that can itself compete with the weeds, and that can itself suppress the weeds, right? So in cultural approach or ecological approach, in such a way we have to we have to manage the plot, or we have to manage the resources, that the weed growth will be minimum and our crop growth will be maximum. That is what the cultural or ecological approach of weed control is. Here we are not doing any manual weeding. Here we are not doing any the physical weeding or mechanical weeding, but here what we are doing, we are basically managing the crop in such a way that resource availability will be optimum to the crop, and we are just managing some crop husbandry methods so that the crops will grow vigorously and the weeds will be suppressed, right? So first one is choosing of crop species. Okay, choosing of crop species. Suppose there are two crops. One is rice crop, another one is green gram or groundnut crop. So which will whose foliage will cover the weed, whose foliage can suppress the weed, whose foliage can act as live mulch for weed, whose foliage can be act as smoothing effect on weed? Of course the groundnut crop or the green gram crop, because it is a pulse crop and it can the foliage spreading is more in that case, right? So it can suppress the weeds that is being grown nearby, right? So instead of growing any cereal crop, if there is weed dominance, then we can go for the pulse crop. Okay, that is having smoothing effect on weed. That is also called smoother crop, like pulses. Okay, they can be more competitive than any cereal crops, right? Then a pulse crop, then suppose in among the cereal crop, among winter cereals, suppose let's say barley, wheat and oat. Barley can suppress more the weeds than wheat and oat, because it has the root proliferation ability is very high. That means the rapid root proliferation you can find in barley, as well as it secretes some alkaloid that is called gramine that act as allelochemical for the nearby weed. Okay, so if there is weed problem in the field in winter season, we must grow barley instead of oat and wheat, right? Then this is about crop species. Then cultivar or crop variety. Suppose there are two types of cultivar. One is spreading type cultivar, another is bunch type cultivar. So which can suppress the weeds better? The spreading type, of course. So it is spreading, that means, or suppose we are taking cereals crop also. Some cereal, suppose they are secreting certain allelochemical, and some are not secreting allelochemical, that is not harmful for the weeds. So if that cultivar we are taking which can secrete certain allelochemical, then that can manage the weed better. So cultivar selection is also important, crop species is important, cultivar selection is also important. Then sowing. In some cases, when we are sowing the seed of the crop in the late season or early than the optimum, then we may control the weeds, because the crop associated weed. What is crop associated weed? They require the specific climate that is being imposed by the imposed for the crop plant to grow. So if we are not giving the crop plant, if the crop is flexible enough, then if we are doing late sowing or late planting or early planting, then that may control that crop associated weed, because they are not getting the optimum environment for their growth. But here the problem is we have to also sacrifice some yield, some yield also we have to sacrifice, because the crop plant itself is not getting optimum environment. So how it can produce more, right? So for example, late planting of wheat in December than the November is the optimum planting time. But if we are sowing the wheat crop in December, then in the northwest India, then it can reduce phalaris minor infestation, right? Then line sowing, in case of rice crop, line sowing encounters less weed than broadcasting. Again, transplanted rice generally encounters less weed problem than direct seeded rice. Suppose we are doing the direct seeded rice, then there the weed growth is maximum. In transplanted rice, what happen? We are waterlogging the field, or we are flooding the field. So in that case, weed growth will be less. Then if the seed rate is higher, then there is higher crop density, so it can suppress the weeds. But the problem is here, the intra plant competition or intra crop competition will be more, and the yield reduction will be more. Then if we are doing crop rotation, then also we can manage the weeds in our field, because if we are growing same crop again and again, there will be problem of crop associated weed as well as crop bound or parasitic weed, if there is any. But if we are rotating the crop, then we are checking the growth of same weed again and again. If we are rotating the crop, so if we are diversifying the crop, if we are rotating the crop, we can control the weeds as well. Then cropping practice, that means crop diversification and intercropping, that can also significantly minimize the weed flora in the crop field than monocropping or sole cropping. Then live mulch or cover crop, like as we discussed already, that smoother crops or live mulch crop, that has the pulses, the legume crop, they are having wider spreading of foliage, so they can control the weeds better. Then the concept of trap crop and catch crop is there. So this is very important for your exam perspective. What is trap crop? That means, trap means to trap something, right? So whenever we are growing any trap crop, that secretes certain chemical that will promote the germination, that will stimulate the germination of the parasitic weeds, right? More specifically, the striga plant. Striga is a parasitic, that is the partial root parasite. So when we grow these trap crops, they secrete some chemical that will stimulate the germination of striga. So after the germination of parasitic weed, what they want, what they need for their survival, they need the host plant. But in that field, there is no host plant for striga available, because we are just stimulated the germination, but there is no host plant yet present. So that will ultimately deprived of nutrition, and that will be ultimately killed. Then for example, the trap crop example are cotton, cowpea, soybean, chickpea, sunflower. These are used as trap crop for striga. Then catch crop, here what we do, we grow one low value crop that can act as host plant for the parasitic weed. For example, sorghum sudanense, that is Sudan grass. Before sowing of sorghum crop, we just grow Sudan grass or sorghum sudanense. So when the parasitic weed or striga that will emerge, that will attack this host plant, that is alternate host plant, that is a low value crop, that will attack. And after attacking the host plant or low value crop, will remove the weed as well as the crop plant, as well as the low value crop from our field. So we are basically here, what we are doing, we are just minimizing the weed flora in the field itself, because we are trying to exhaust the weeds from weed seed bank. Okay, so basically the catch crop are being sacrificed because we are removing those crops, but trap crop we need not to remove those crops. Okay, then scheduling of irrigation. Suppose if we are delaying the fast irrigation, then it is well evident that weed population will be less, because weed seeds, they cannot germinate in dry condition. Okay, suppose in the residual moisture we sow the seed, then seed germination will be more. But in surface layer, what happens, weed seeds generally they germinated from surface layer, but the surface layer there will be evaporation loss, so weed seeds cannot germinate if we are delaying the irrigation process. Again, if we are doing the micro irrigation, or if we are doing the localized irrigation, suppose drip irrigation if we are practicing, then we can control the weeds more better. Because in drip irrigation what happens, where the emitters of the drip line, they are mostly present in the root zone of the crop plant. So we are just providing the water to the crop plant root zone, but we are avoiding the wetting of the root zone of the weeds. So in that way also we can check the weeds. Then while applying the fertilizer or while applying the manures, we should not broadcast it in the field, because if we broadcast it in the field, then both crop and weed, they will get nutrition. But as the weed growth is vigorous, as the weed population is vigorous, as there is more weed seeds present in the weed seed bag, so they will grow vigorously, they will suppress the crop plant. So if we are going for manure application or fertilizer application in the line, okay, then only crop plant will get that nutrition, right? So there will be vigorous growth of the crop plant and they can compete with the weeds better. Then stale seedbed technique, it is another important question for your exam. What is stale seedbed technique? Here what we do, here generally after cultivating the field, we are just irrigating the field. So after irrigation, remember, still we have not sown the crop, we just cultivated or we just tilled the soil, then we just irrigated the field. So the weed seeds, those are viable and those having germination, that means no dormancy. Those seeds of weeds, they are having no dormancy and those are viable, they will emerge, they will germinate and emerge. So after emergence, we may control these weeds by applying any non-residual herbicide or by mechanical weeding method. If we are controlling these weeds by applying non-residual herbicide, then that is called chemical stale seed bed. If we are controlling these weeds by mechanical weeding, then we can call it as mechanical stale seed bed. So in this stale seed bed technique, we have to again 2 to 3 times we have to do this practice. So what we are doing here, we are letting the weed seeds germinate from the weed seed bank and we are controlling them before sowing of the crop. So basically we are adjusting the weed seeds from the weed seed bank. So in this process, we can reduce the weed flora up to 40 to 50% in our crop field. Then use of germination stimulant like ethylene, KNO3 and Strigal. They will stimulate the germination of parasitic weed and we have to control them by applying any chemical or herbicide. Then herbicide resistant crop, if we can grow different herbicide resistant crop, but they are not allowed in our country, in India. So if there is any herbicide tolerant maize we are suppose cultivating, so we can increase the dose of the herbicide to control, or we can use non-selective herbicide in our crop field. Suppose there is a glyphosate resistant mustard, okay, so if we are growing the glyphosate resistant mustard in our field, then we can use glyphosate in our field. So that is a glyphosate if we are using, then that will escape the glyphosate resistant mustard and that will control all the weeds present in the crop field. Then summer fallowing, if we remain fallow in the summer season, if we do deep summer tillage and we just we are not cultivating in any crop, then that will desiccate the, as we were already discussing, it will desiccate the vegetative part of the perennial weeds, that is the vegetative structure, those are the propagating material for perennial weeds, so that will desiccate that. Then residue incorporation, in some cases residue incorporation will secrete some allochemical and that can control the weeds. So this was about the cultural and ecological approach of weed control. In next class we will study about the biological control of weeds.